Hello, Anthony.
Hello, Claudine.
We're here today to talk about something that a lot of people that invest in hedge funds have heard. It's called the carried interest loophole, but you're saying it's not necessarily actually a loophole.
Yeah, a lot of people are out there saying that there's this loophole that Congress needs to close about carried interest. And, when I first heard this term years ago, I'm like, there's a loophole? I don't know about it. Where is this? I was looking like, what are they talking about? What do they mean the carry interest loophole? Well, there is no loophole. It's just called tax compliance. It's something that's made up. It's a term that's completely made up because certain people don't like the fact that long-term capital gains exists as a tax treatment, and you don't have to pay taxes until the disposition of the asset. So they've sort of invented this as like, well, you see, hedge funds are taking advantage of the tax code, and they should really be taxed year after year. They should be taxed yearly on their prospective gains, but it's sort of impossible to do. To reform the tax code to try to capture this carried interest, which is kind of a made-up term, doesn't work because, again, it's sort of a made-up term. Carried interest can be best explained by this: is if you're a fund manager, you're investing in something that has a long-term window. It's not gonna be something that turns over in a year, typically 3, 5, 6-year period, 10-year period. So you put some of your own money in there, and what you're paid, your performance is based on, well, how well it does. Therefore, you have an incentive, right, to let's make sure it does well, right? So you're very tied to the success of whatever the investment is, and that sort of works out for everybody. That works out for the investor to make sure you're on the same page, and then you have a great interest to do well. And so when it does do well and it sells, okay, well, here's your taxable event. You're taxed at the lower tax rate, the long-term capital gains rate of 20%. There's now some Obamacare surcharges on it, but let's just say it's 20%, as opposed to the higher ordinary tax rate of 39.6%. So it's a great way to do business. But the thing is, this is the way all long-term capital gains work. If you buy a property yourself or with your wife, and in 10 years you sell it, you're paying the long-term capital gain rate yourself. So it's what is the difference between a hedge fund doing, which typically it's a limited partnership or LLP, it's a partnership. So what is it different about the hedge fund structure that's different than any other partnership? And the reason is, there's a lot more money involved, and people like that money and they want a taste of it, and they get a little bit jealous, and so they kind of come up with ways to say, well, they're taking advantage of the tax code. So that's why any attempts at sort of closing the carried interest deduction or loophole just can't work, because you would have to throw out the entire favorable long-term capital gains rate. Well, that's politically impossible, because the people who have a lot of long-term capital gains and also dividends and rental real estate, 20%, the lower rate, are retirees. So if you are a politician and you want to spend more time with your family, go ahead and get rid of long-term capital gains rates. You will be voted out of office so quick. And that's why it's more or less, it's sort of just a boogeyman that's used that can never be reformed unless you get rid of all long-term capital gains, which is politically impossible. So it's just something that's out there thrown around to slander, I think, a good bunch of people.
Slander, and or if someone's trying to sell you on a loophole, maybe it's not.
There's really not a loophole, right? If that does happen a lot. Somebody sees something, and then you see a marketing device to say,
if I got a
hey,
deal for you,
these hedge funds are taking care of this loophole, you can too. It's like, well, it's long-term capital gains rate, so you can call it a loophole. I just call it tax compliance.
All right. So if you have any questions about hedge funds or investments, don't hesitate to comment or contact us at info@IRSMedic.com for more of a straight answer, I'd say. We want to thank you so much for watching. You can like and comment below. Have a great day.